break it down, give you the scoop. Hold on tight, this ain't no ordinary loot. UFC's the battleground where warriors collide. DieHard MMA podcast, we won't hide. Clint's gonna defeat, analyze each brawl from the underdogs to the champions standing tall. The fury, let your instincts rise. Feel the adrenaline rush, it's time to defy. DieHard MMA, we're here for the thrill. Get ready for the madness. Let's make that bankroll spill.
What's going on, diehards and degenerates? Welcome back to the undefeated post-weigh-in show, UFC 304. Let's freaking go. I cannot wait for this card. I am amped up. This is such a good card. There's bettable lines. There's live underdogs. We got it all for UFC 304. I am so excited. How's everybody doing today? I just got done doing the Sharp Action report. That is right here on Home of Fight as well. So if you want the notable public Sharp Action, whatever you want to hear, stuff from across the desk, that's great information for you. That's right here on the channel. So make sure you check that out and subscribe here if you haven't yet already. You should have. Let's get into it, guys. As you know, the whole idea for the undefeated post weigh-in show is we're taking every single little bit of information that we've gotten about these fights. We take the Monday breakdowns and we kind of circle back around. We make sure we still feel the same, or maybe something swayed us. We learned something new. I give all that info to you here on this show, on top of seeing how these fighters size up at the ceremonial weigh-ins, how they face off, who had a good or a bad weight cut. I want to give you every little bit of information I possibly can so you can make money tomorrow at UFC 304. Let's get straight on into it. First fight of the night, Elise Ardene takes on Shauna Bannon. 116 pounds for Elise, 115 for Shauna Bannon. Now, Ardene coming in on short notice. She struggled a little bit to make weight. She did need the box of shame, but she looked all right. Shauna Bannon, she looked in fantastic shape, to be quite honest. She looked excellent all the way through fight week on the scales. Everything looked good. Checks out for Shauna Bannon. This one's interesting to me, guys, because early in the week when they dropped this line, I don't think Shauna Bannon's very good. I'll just go ahead and come right out and say that, right? I don't think that she is very good. I'm not overly impressed with her skill set, her overall game. But at the end of the day, she's the hometown fighter here on this one. She's only got 6 professional MMA fights. She's young. There is lots of room for her to improve. She's obviously very athletic. These handicaps, you kind of play the fight out in your brain. You look at the numbers, you watch the tape, and you play it out in your head, and you see how it's going to kind of look. The big reason why we do this undefeated post weigh-in show is seeing how these fighters size up with each other. And Ardene does not have a size advantage. Bannon has a size advantage here in this fight, guys. When I previewed this fight, I thought that Bannon was going to be the larger of the two women. So the way Bannon kind of crashes not Bannon, Ardene. I thought Ardene was going to be the larger of the two women. The way she fights, she just comes forward recklessly. Like, she's not all that great, but she's mean, she's angry, she will throw those hands, and she's got decent pop in her hands. So in my imagination, we've got Ardene, who's bigger than Bannon, who's going to crash the pocket, who's not going to respect the kicks, and who's going to be able to reach her opponent and crack her with those big power shots. When you flip the scales on who's the bigger opponent, that kind of changes the way you view the fight, because now if Bannon's able to keep the range that she wants, if she's able to get the respect and avoid those blitz attacks because she is taller, because she is longer, she's got those natural advantages physically, that completely changes the way I see this fight playing out. So I am not laying minus 180 on Shauna Bannon for the life of me. You'll never catch me doing that. But it is a spot where I've shifted from thinking that Elise is a live dog to now I'm kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pick Shauna Bannon to win this fight. You guys know anytime I flip flop on a fight like that, I do my best to stay off of it from a betting perspective, especially with it being low level women's MMA. I don't need to be laying chalk in this kind of a spot. But obviously, Shauna Bannon is the fighter that the UFC is hoping to kind of put on showcase here in this particular spot. You also have to worry about the short notice for at least Ardene. She's not a high level fighter. She's not anything special. So can she go hard for a full 15 minutes? I'm kind of expecting Shauna Bannon by decision. But if this fight gets intense, you never know. She might be the one with the full training camp leading her to have the better gas tank. Maybe she finds a late finish or something like that. But I'm kind of expecting Shauna Bannon. I'm picking Shauna Bannon at this point in time. Makes me feel all gross inside, but it is what it is. Next fight up, Lukas Breski taking on Mick Parkin. Breski comes in at 135. Parkin, 235. Parkin 264. So my boy Parkin's going to have a 30-pound weight advantage here in this spot. Breski still doing the soft body thing. That photo from years ago of him with ripped up abs, it's long gone, baby. That's never coming back. No issues for Breski on the scale. Mick Parkin, he gave a one-arm flex, big smile, big old soft heavyweight boy. Definitely not your super heavyweight jacked up prospect. Breski is slightly taller in this spot. I was hoping that Mick Parkin was going to be the more imposing figure up there, but it is what it is. Parkin, much thicker, quite obviously here. Parkin's been training with Tom Aspinall in this spot. It's another spot where I think the line is just a little bit wide, but at the end of the day, I think Mick Parkin rolls here. Minus 355. Parkin was like a 2-1 favorite earlier in the week. It's been basically one-way traffic. Lukas Breski is a guy that we've seen him flatlined by guys that don't get finishes in the UFC. We've seen him taken down time and time again by bad fighters. I mean, it's another spot that just screams the UFC wants Parkin to have an opportunity to get a highlight reel finish. And if not that, at least a win. I don't think Breski is sticking around the UFC for very long. He's reliant on his volume and his toughness. And frankly, he's got a lot of that, and that's fine. But when you're taking on a guy like Mick Parkin who can mix the game up well, he can pin you against the fence. He can drag you to the ground. He's got decent volume. He's got decent power. If he gets on top of you, he's got submissions. He will ground and pound. So it's one of those spots where I just think Mick Parkin has enough everywhere to go ahead and win this fight. I did go ahead and parlay him up myself. I didn't think that this price tag was going to blow up quite the way that it did. I was a little late to the party, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, like I said, Mick Parkin, I'm not straying from that pick. I do think he's the side. Kiefer Crosby and Sam Patterson, 171 for Crosby, 170 on the dot for my boy Sam Patterson. Kiefer Crosby looking thick. Solid flex up there. This guy's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. Sam Patterson, though, absolutely shredded. This kid, holy cow. That extra 10 pounds looks real good on my boy Sammy Patterson up there. He looks fantastic at 170 pounds. Parkin is still way taller. I mean, moving up a weight class where, frankly, I had no idea how he cut down to 155 in the first place. He still just has a massive height and reach advantage over guys that are naturally 170 pounders. This was interesting because Crosby was like barking at him and really getting into his face and talking to him. Sam was having nothing of it. He is cool, calm, collected. Obviously, I like Sam Patterson. He is in the two-legger parlay here with my guy, Mick Parkin. I'm just hoping, just win on this one, right? You guys always tell me, just pick winners, don't take value plays. I worry a little bit about Kiefer Crosby crashing the pocket and hurting Sam with his hands early. I'm also hoping that the weight change, that the durability for Sam is going to be a little bit improved up at this new weight class. And if you guys know anything about Sam Patterson, watch his regional scene footage. He's been put in some really tough, really bad positions throughout his career, and he always fights his way back in. This kid is all heart. He's got great cardio. He's got great grit and will to win. So as long as he doesn't get completely iced, if he gets hurt, if he gets dropped, it's not over. he'll fight his way back into this thing. And that's where I do kind of buck the trend a little bit here. This fight is lined really, really heavily on the under 1.5. I think these guys are going to take it maybe a little bit slower. I think there's going to be a little more grappling involved. And like I mentioned, Crosby might hurt Sam earlier in this fight, but Sam will battle his way back into it. I do think it's going to be a sub like everybody else, but I actually think it's going to be a round 2 or a round 3 sub a little bit later once Kiefer Crosby slows down, once Sam kind of finds his groove in the fight. Now, with guys that are this big of finishers and, also this fragile, you can't rule out a round 1 finish. Obviously, this fight could be over in round 1. I think it's going to be round 2 personally, but I am picking Sam. I am picking Sam by sub, and Sam is in my 2-legger parlay. Next up, Minnow Cop takes on Muhammad Mokave. Weirdest fight on the entire damn card, being down here this low. We have got Minnow Cop 125.5, Muhammad Mokave 126, and whoo, when that notification rolled through that Minnow Cop made weight at 125.5 today, everyone took a big sigh, a big relief off my chest here. In fact, he came in early. He looked in fantastic shape. He was shredded up there. Cop is looking good. Not quite so with Muhammad Mokave. We're going to break out the tinfoil cap early here on this one, guys. Muhammad Mokave. Gosh, dang it. Look at that. Like, this thing's busted, dude. I need a new tinfoil hat, guys. I apologize. I'm slacking here. I got to run to the store and I got to rebuild this thing because this one's falling apart. There we go. We'll just go with it on top like that. Mokave, I'm pretty sure he missed weight. I mean, even if what the hell is going on with my camera now? Like, why is it all unfuzzed here for some reason? Just today's ruined, guys. I'm over it. Let me tell you. Car problems, people getting sick in the house, like camera issues now. I'm so over this weekend. All right. I'm over the week. I need the weekend here. Hopefully this thing wakes up and corrects itself so I'm nice and sharp instead of blurry there for you guys. I'm pissed off. Damn technology. Okay. So Mokave wanted the box of shame. They came out knowing full damn well that they absolutely needed the box of shame on the scales today. But for some odd reason, they were like, no, you're good, kid. You're all good. And they just moved the slider over. They didn't even wait for it to balance out. And they called the weight off. It's like, pardon? Like, I am almost of the belief that the UFC straight up was like, hey, give these guys an extra pound. Like, whoever's operating the scales, don't care. Just tell them, read off the weight that they need to read off. Call it a day, because we cannot have this fight canceled for a third time because of weight issues. Interesting that it was not Manel Cop and it was Muhammad Mokave that was the one who was missing the weight potentially, or at least, needing the box of shame in this type of a spot. But sketchy as all get out. They gifted Mokave the weight, and I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. This is a weird fight because you legitimately could make some like weird arguments in this particular spot, man. You've got a lot of people who are talking about how they're trying to get Mokave a loss so that they can re-sign him for cheaper. And then you've got the whole storyline of Manel Cop, who was supposed to fight for the title. They were gifting him a matchup where he should have gotten an easy knockout win, but instead of getting an easy knockout win, they're making him fight a much tougher opponent, a younger opponent, an undefeated opponent. Like, the whole thing is super weird. This fight is really, really strange from start to finish, and there's a million different ways you can look at it. It's also been an absolute landslide of money on Muhammad Mokave. This fight was really close to pick him. Mokave is minus 175 now. Guys, I said I was going to pass on this fight. I said I wasn't going to bet it at pick 'em. I have futures tickets on both guys, okay? I've got Mokave at 10-1 to be champion by the end of the year, and I've got Cop at 14-1 to be champion by the end of the year. So I am free rolling as long as one of these guys gets a title shot after this. So I'm hoping for a big win one way or the other. Both guys are kind of undisputed at that point. You can't really tell them they don't deserve a title shot at that point. And then an end of year fight with the Brazilian champion here. So I'm crossing my fingers. One of these tickets is good. So I don't want to give away any money by being wrong when they fight each other on Saturday. But this line is crazy to me. I can't get to minus 175 Muhammad Mokaev. As money just landslides in on Mokaev, I really want to take Manel Kopp. Plus 145 is kind of a crazy number for the guy who's been around longer, with the guy that's got all the finishing upside. Damage over control these days, right? Everyone complains about how Muhammad Mokaev doesn't do anything in his fights. Yeah, he got like a comeback Hail Mary third round submission to save himself against Tim Elliott. Man, if Tim Elliott can stuff you and defend some of your grappling situations and be up 2 rounds to none, Manel Kopp probably can do something similar and hits harder. So it's a crazy spot where I'm like, man, they're going to make me bet Manel Kopp. Like if this line just keeps going, they're going to make me bet Manel Kopp because I can't make sense of this number. I think Muhammad Mokaev 175 is wrong, and especially the higher it gets, the worse it gets. I'm trying to sit on my hands. I'm picking Manel Kopp to win the fight at the end of the day. That's kind of the side that I liked coming in the first place. But I'm trying to be good because I've got futures and I don't need to double down and compound any losses or anything like that here. But Manel Kopp's the pick for me, guys. Manel's the Kopp. Kopp is the pick for me. These guys were ready to brawl when they got on stage today. They let them get like 3 feet from each other, and they were like, no. They called in all the security, split them up, got them away from each other. This fight's going to be intense, or as intense as it can be. I'm kind of hoping that we get a Masvidal-style flying knee from Manel Kopp to open this thing up, because both these guys are absolutely fighting emotional, and I don't know what an emotional Mokaev looks like in there. We'll see if that changes anything, because he does end up usually diving on ankles and then just kind of sitting on top of you and hugging you for 15 minutes. So we'll see if he does anything different because of the back issues going into this fight. Oban Elliott and Preston Parsons. Oban Elliott came in at 170, Parsons 169. Both guys looked really good, except holy shit, Preston Parsons has nuclear arms. My God, the guy is so freaking thick. Massive flex. Oban Elliott's got the size advantage here in this spot, though, and that was a little bit interesting to me. So you've got the shorter, thicker Preston Parsons, who's got all the muscle, and then the taller, lither Oban Elliott, who's not in bad shape himself. You know, he's not like a tall, skinny type of dude. He definitely has some muscle on his frame as well. Oban Elliott plus 125, minus 145, minus 150 for Preston Parsons. And I've been picking Parsons. I still think I'm going to pick Parsons. But seeing Oban Elliott with that height advantage, it does make me worry just a little bit, you know, especially when we're talking about grappling. When you've got the bigger man, it's easier to get on top of their opponent. It's easier to make them carry your weight just a little bit, but you've got a closer target if you're headed to the hips, if you're the shorter guy. So again, I can argue both sides here on this one. I'm not confident whatsoever in this fight. I'm picking Preston Parsons, and unfortunately, I just have to kind of leave it at that for you guys, because that's my least confident take on the card, except for maybe the Giga Chikadze fight, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Guys, this is the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show. We've got over 300 live, rocking with me live right now. Thank you all for being here. Getting a little tongue-tied on a Friday. I need lunch. Hit the like button for me. Let's get through the rest of these fights here. I'm excited for this one. Maybe more than anybody else should be. Modestas Pakus takes on Marcin Prachnio. 204 for Modestas, 205 for Prachnio. Modestas has abs. My God, this guy is in great shape. He's a big dude. He's a big body at 205, and he's in phenomenal shape for this fight. Marcin Prachnio coming up there with kind of a blank face, no emotion on the scale. No abs to speak of. Looked a little bit soft up there. I mean, he's got big, thick arms for sure, but he's definitely looking not so great coming into the weigh-ins this time here. This was a super intense face-off. It always is with Prachnio. He's always kind of mean mugging and making faces at people. And guys, I did find something here on this one. So I've been on Modestas Pakus since this fight got announced. I knew I was going to bet that side. I knew I was going to pick that side. That's the side that I've bet on this one. I am very much looking forward to this fight, because I feel like I'm the Modestas Pakus whisperer here. A lot of people are now kind of sold or interested on the Prachnio side because he's put together this weird little run that he's been on. But at the end of the day, he's one of the guys in the UFC that I want to fade the most, guys. Prachnio is not good. He is old. Yes, he puts up a decent amount of volume, but it's these little leg kicks that frankly don't get scored all that well in MMA sometimes, unless you're like crippling your opponent. At 36 years old, he's fragile. He's been knocked out 4 times, and that includes some of the worst fighters on the UFC roster, guys like Sam Alvey and Mike Rodriguez, that are no longer with the organization. He's been facing the bottom barrel level of competition, and those are the guys that he is squeezing by. Ike Villanueva, William Knight, Devin Clark. And I know a lot of people think that Modestas belongs in that bottom barrel with those names, but I don't. He's mid-low tier. He's not low tier, if that makes sense. This guy's got gas tank for days. He's taller, he's longer, he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here in this spot. He hits hard, and that's really been the thing with Marcin Prachnio that's been the struggle. You look back over his UFC run, guys, he doesn't have a single win over a competitor who has a reach advantage on him. Sam Alvey, Magomed Ankalaev, Mike Rodriguez, Felipe Lins, Vitor Petrino. Every single time he's fought somebody that's got a reach advantage on him, he loses and or gets knocked out. More often than not, he is getting finished in these fights, guys. He does not have a good chin. He's very fragile. And you've got a guy in Modestas Pakus who is much, much younger. You could argue is still improving. He's coming into his prime, 30 years old, hits hard, likes to strike moving backwards so he can set up a lot of really good shots. And in the big cage, the footwork of Modestas Bukauskas. My God, these two names together, that is really tough to keep on rolling through there. Apologize. The footwork of Modestas is going to really set up his strikes. He likes to walk you onto big punches. He likes to set up and throw the head kick when you're coming forward. And I think that's how this fight plays out 90% of the time. You're going to have Marcin Prachnio marching forward, trying to get into kicking range. He's going to struggle to close that range because of the reach advantage for Modestas. And when he does finally blast his way in, trying to get in there to land damage of his own, Modestas is going to be able to uncork one of those big right hands. He's going to be able to uncork one of those big head kicks. And when those things land, Prachnio just does not react well when he gets hit hard. And on top of that, Modestas is a guy that can do this for 15 straight minutes. You know, when he's in Cage Warriors and he's fighting the level of competition like a Marcin Prachnio, you know, he's finishing those guys in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds. He's always in championship fights. He's always going late. And as his opponents kind of slow down a little bit and the damage accumulates, he puts them down. I love Modestas Bukauskas in this spot. I know it's a greasy, low-level, nasty, dirty fight, but Modestas Bukauskas is the rightful favorite in my opinion. And frankly, he should be a higher favorite. And I'm playing the knockout, plus 320 on the KO, TKO, or DQ. Marcin Prachnio somehow has managed to keep that chin alive for his last couple of fights. I don't know how he's done it. He shouldn't have done it, but he's been facing guys like, you know, Will Knight, unfortunately, that just kind of weren't able to get to his chin, and Devin Brown Bear Clark. So here we are. He's got a guy that can reach him, that can touch him, and I think he's going to go down. I got Modestas Bukauskas. I got him by KO, and being on home soil, trying to show out a little bit, I wouldn't be shocked if it was a little bit earlier too. So I'm playing KO straight, even though I'm saying it's possible later, like around 3, something like that. If Modestas comes out fast, this thing could be over early as well. So just playing money line and just playing KO by itself. And let's see, I'll predict a round 2. How's that for you guys? All right, moving right along. We've got Jake Hadley and Colin Laughrin, a fight that I didn't get to talk about on the Monday show because it had not been booked fully yet. 137 for Hadley. He missed weight by a pound. He is coming in here on short notice, so he's had weight issues in the past. He wasn't able to make it down at 125. He missed weight there as well. So he's completed now the full rumble, moving up a weight class and missing weight at that new weight class. Colin Laughrin, 136. He was able to make weight, no problem here. Hadley looked really good. I think the extra 10 pounds might be a benefit to him, but he's also a little skinny. I'll be honest with you guys. Colin Laughrin looked fantastic. This guy's a brick. No problem. Huge upper body. Very relaxed on the scale today. They size up really well, actually. Guys, this is where, once again, this show is so important to me. In my mind, Jake Hadley still had a height advantage here in this spot. He was going to be one of those guys moving up 10 pounds. Even though he's skinnier, he was going to be taller and skinnier. He's not. These guys size up really well. Colin Laughrin is the same height as Jake Hadley, and he is thicker and more muscly than Jake Hadley. That's all I needed to see, because with Laughrin being as massive and as thick as he is, knowing full damn well that he's got the wrestling advantage and knowing full damn well that Jake Hadley is super reliant on his guillotine, you know, he's got to submit you. He's going to accept bottom. He's going to get out wrestled. He's got tough concerns with his cardio sometimes. Like, that's exactly the kind of spot where if you're taller, if you're longer, and you can win some of those striking exchanges, maybe there's an argument for Hadley in that kind of a spot. But seeing that he's not even the taller, longer guy, it's like, that one little thing I wanted to hinge, maybe arguing for Hadley on, it's kind of out the window. I'm not the biggest Colin Laughrin guy in the world. I don't think he's as, I'm not as hyped on him as everybody else is. I'm really not. But at the end of the day, is he better than Jake Hadley? Is he bigger than Jake Hadley? I think the answer to those two questions is yes. Like, Hadley probably has the more well-rounded skill set, but physicality does a lot for you in these kinds of fights. And if you're not having any kind of physical advantage, I don't see how you're going to stop Laughrin from doing what he wants to do. So I think Hadley can probably get off on some boxing combos early, and then Laughrin's going to put him on his back. And that's how this fight's going to go. So I'm saying Colin Laughrin by decision. That's going to be my official decision pick on this one. I think it goes over. I think it goes the distance. And I think more than likely it's Colin Laughrin. I was looking at the Jake Hadley plus 3.5. That spread pick where, if he wins one scorecard for each judge or something like that, you can lose a decision and still win the bet, that kind of thing. And now I'm steering clear of that. I still think that probably happens, like 29-28 Laughrin. But at the end of the day, instead of laying minus 145, praying this guy can win a round, I'd rather lay minus 105 on Colin Laughrin to just be the one who gets his hand raised via decision, because that's how I see the fight really playing out. Bruna Brazil and Molly McCann, 116 on the dot for both women. Bruna Brazil, no problem, looked well on the scales today. Molly McCann looked fantastic. I'll be honest with you guys. She's in great shape, and this move to 115 has done wonders for her. She looks like a completely different person at this weight class. Brazil, obviously a little bit taller, but Molly's always been an undersized fighter. Like, no matter when and where she fights, she's never the bigger fighter in there or anything like that. Molly did the no look. She did the she's like looking off in the distance, not making eye contact. But even though she wasn't staring her opponent down in this spot, she was intense as ever. I mean, she was mean mugging the crowd out there. She is ready to go, guys. I can tell Molly McCann has got her foot on the gas pedal for this fight. I did parlay up Molly McCann. We've got the Scousers parlay, which I'll talk about here, closing out with Patty the Batty in a little bit. But basically the angle on this, you know what? I'll just talk about it now, right? I just told you what it is. So let's talk about it. The Scousers parlay, guys, there have been three fights where Molly and Patty have been on the same card together. These two have been around for a while now, and Molly longer than Patty. So we know all about them, but it kind of surprised me when I went back and I did the numbers that they've actually only fought on the same card together 3 times. Every single time they have been put on the card together, both fighters have won. The Scousers parlay is cashed 3 for 3, 100% hit rate. So I'm riding with it. I got plus 157 on that bad boy, and it's Molly McCann money line, Patty the Batty money line. I actually think this fight is going to be Molly McCann by decision. I do think there's opportunity for her to finish. Bruna Brazil doesn't like pressure. She doesn't like getting hit. But at the end of the day, Molly's been finishing people with like crazy spinning attacks. Molly's been finishing people with, submissions on the mat. People who are really bad at grappling, mind you. Bruna Brazil, I think, is a little bit of a step up from Molly's recent competition. So I'm not sure she's going to go away quite so easily. But I do think the pressure, I do think the power, and I do think the overall aggression of Molly McCann is going to be enough to go ahead and win her the fight. I just don't think she's going to be able to do enough to necessarily finish Bruna Brazil in this spot. Now, maybe she can. She can. I know she can, but will she? I think it's going to be a decision more than it's going to be a finish. I think she'll be able to hit some takedowns. I think she'll be able to hit her with some big shots, win the minutes, or win the moments. I do think she'll be able to put a full, well-rounded game plan together and win this fight. Let's say 30-27. Molly McCann. That's the prediction. But all I need is the money line, because she could take her to the ground and sub her. She could knock her out. She could take her the distance. So I think money line is safer than picking a prop here on this one. Daniel Pineda and Nathaniel Wood, 146 for Pineda, 145 for Nathaniel Wood. Pineda absolutely freaking jacked. Dude looks amazing. I mean, ever since the drug testing in the UFC is kind of rolled over, we're seeing a lot of these older fighters get a bit of new life. They're looking better than they used to. They're coming back around. The physique is returning. Makes you wonder who's getting tested and what they're getting tested for. But Pineda looked incredible today. Nathaniel Wood, even though he's coming up at 145 and you'd think that would be okay for him, looked a bit rough on the scale today. Had that 1,000-yard stare, kind of blank eyes looking off into the distance. These guys size up well, and Pineda's actually the larger of the two. Now, that's not uncommon for Nathaniel Wood. He usually does tend to be the smaller guy in there, especially up at 145. But this one, guys, I can't get around the minus 400 price tag here on this one. Nathaniel Wood is a guy who I've been trying to take advantage of because I think he's fragile. He gets hurt in every single fight and has to battle his way back into it. And round 2, round 3 would make sense in this spot because Pineda's gas tank is sketchy. But in round 1, I could see Pineda coming out and hurting Nathaniel Wood. And if he doesn't let Wood off the hook, he might be able to get that early finish that a couple of guys have been close to, but haven't quite been able to get done. I'm passing on this fight. I will pick Nathaniel Wood. And like I said, I think a round 2, round 3 KO makes some sense to me here in this spot. I will make that my prediction here for the fight, but I can't get close to that money line. And Armchair asking, didn't Pineda fail a drug test? Like 3 of them. He's failed more than one drug test, my guy. This guy has been known to piss hot on more than one occasion. So absolutely, we know Pineda's found his way back to the good stuff here. So that's where, like I said, Pineda inside the distance, I think he could upset the apple cart. Nathaniel Wood, he's going to have to survive early, and then he's going to have to pour it on late, which he's really good at doing, by the way. So he probably finishes if Pineda doesn't get him out of there. But minus 400 doesn't make any sense to me. I can't get to that. Arnold Allen and Giga Chikadze. We've got Allen 145, Chikadze 146. And Allen looks strong as ever. He's in incredible shape. Looked great up there. Giga Chikadze did need the box of shame. He looked a little bit rough. He's always got that kind of tall, skinny guy thing going on where he looks like he's rough on the scales after making a tough weight cut, but he was very intense. Giga's got a height advantage, and he did you guys know the meme where the guy, I want to shake his hand. I want to shake his hand. The guy on the airplane, he would not let go of Arnold Allen's hand at the weigh-ins today. He had some stuff to say, and Arnold was gonna hear it. It was pretty funny. Giga's got the height advantage, and I struggle with this one, guys. I really struggle with this one because Arnold Allen is a guy that I haven't really been able to figure out. He went on that incredible run that he was on, and I just didn't really. I was not baiting him, you know what I mean? But I wasn't on the train, and so then when he did finally get derailed, it was like, well, I'm not really surprised. So like I've always been kind of wishy-washy on him. I'm not really sure how I feel about Arnold Allen. He's incredible, obviously, but is he top 5? You know, Giga's a guy that I've been fading the kickboxers coming over to MMA. You guys know my history with Alex Pereira. I keep thinking these guys are going to get exposed in this more well-rounded game. And Giga's been a little up and down, but he's obviously been adjusting and he's done well. And he also is an incredible striker. And if these guys are going to go kickbox for 15 minutes, you got to kind of think that's going to favor the kickboxer, right? And he's plus money. So like, I'm confused in this spot. I'm not a Giga backer. I'm not the guy that's going to go to war with Giga Chikadze in this type of a spot, but I do kind of feel like it's a back and forth 15-minute affair, and you want the taller, longer guy. You want the underdog. You want the natural kickboxer, but Arnold Allen is younger. I think Arnold Allen hits harder. I like his well-rounded MMA game better, so there's arguments on both sides of this one. I'm going to pick Allen to win, but again, I'm not going anywhere near this thing from a betting perspective, because it's not going to shock me one bit if Giga just outclasses Allen on the feet. It's not going to surprise me. If Allen goes out there and manages to get into a grappling scramble and takes Giga down and chokes him out, is that going to shock me? No. The guy's got a great front choke. He absolutely could do that. If Arnold Allen roasts the old man Giga to the body and then hits him with an overhand and knocks him out clean, not shocked, not even a little. And that's when I can see every which way this fight can end and just be like, yeah, sure. Like that means I've got no strong opinion. I'm not betting it. So Arnold Allen is the pick, but not doing anything with my money. Christian Leroy Duncan and Gregory Hobocop Rodriguez up next. 185 on the dot for both guys. These guys are massive, let me tell you. So Gregory Rodriguez, obviously, jacked as all get out. And nobody's even close to Gregory when it comes to size, except for this guy. Like, they face off, they size up well. Gregory's still just a little bit bigger, but there's very, very few guys in this weight class that can even come close to how big Gregory Rodriguez is. It's a very, very interesting setup here for him. I bought in on Christian Leroy Duncan at minus 125. He's already jumped back up about 10 cents. He's minus 135 now, so it feels good to get just that, little bit of CLV there in that spot. I don't like the durability of Gregory Rodriguez. Christian Leroy Duncan is a young guy who's making drastic improvements, who's training with the champion Leon Edwards, a guy who has done the exact same thing that CLD is trying to do, and that's be a long-rangey kickboxer who defends takedowns and then gets up and uses that kickboxing. So he's learning from the right guy. He's in the right camp. He's in the right place. And then you've got a guy like Gregory Rodriguez who's fallen in love with his hands, who doesn't grapple as much as he should. And when he gets tagged, we've seen that durability fail him more often than not. We've seen that durability really just kind of leave him out, and he's willing to bite down on the mouthpiece and swing. If he gets hurt or if the grappling isn't going well or he gets tired, he just chucks hands, and that leaves openings. So I'm going to take the younger guy. I'm going to take the improving guy. I'm going to take the faster guy and the guy that wants to, the UFC wants to win at home. So short price tag, Christian Leroy Duncan makes sense to me. I think he probably knocks Gregory Rodriguez out. It's going to be a sad night for me if Gregory decides this is the fight where he's going to grapple and just puts this kid on his ass and Christian Leroy Duncan has nowhere to go and no get up game. Like, I'm going to cry a little bit if that happens. But as long as that's not the one exact circumstance that takes place, I think Christian Leroy Duncan has a whole lot of opportunity in this fight, and he really could stand out and shine in this spot and wake a lot of people up to who could potentially be the next star from this area. Bobby King Green and Patty Pimblett, 154.5 for Bobby Green, 156 for Patty the Batty. Classic Bobby Green on the scales, look great, in shape as always. He's one of those always type of fighters, ready to go on a moment's notice. Patty the Batty, no problem. Big smile, look great. He looks in fantastic shape. And I talked briefly about this on the Sharp Action report, but we need the tinfoil cap one more time here for this one. Patty the Batty re-signed. Patty re-signed with the UFC. They announced it this morning. And that's something that I know a lot of people were waiting on for this fight, because they're going, oh, are they trying to get Patty on a loss before he goes out and tries to do influencer boxing or sign with another promotion? Are they trying to make him look bad before he leaves the UFC? And a lot of people were thinking that's what this matchup with Bobby Green looked to be. But what it also is an opportunity for Patty the Batty to break into the top 15, taking on probably the oldest, weakest member of the top 15 to break into those rankings. It's a very good matchup for Patty the Batty as far as, youth, size, power. So Bobby Green is a more well-rounded fighter. Bobby Green is obviously a better striker. If you let Bobby Green get to that flow state, you're dead. But Patty has a significant grappling advantage. Patty the Batty has a significant power advantage these days. And I say these days because it didn't always used to be that way, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. So there's a lot of ways that Patty can win this fight. I think Patty by round 1 KO makes sense. I think Patty by sub makes sense, even though Bobby Green's a hard guy to submit. If you were going to do it, a guy like Patty would be the one to do it. And then, frankly, I think Patty can pull something out of Aljo's book and backpack this guy for 15 minutes and win a greasy decision that way. And we've seen it before. If it's a close fight, the decision's going to Patty. They're not going to give it to Bobby. If you can make an argument for Patty, Patty's getting his hand raised. So with all those factors involved, I'm taking Patty. So like I said, guys, I've got the Scousers parlay. I fully expect Molly McCann to be able to win that fight. And when she does, I've got Patty the Batty up next in the parlay. I know I'm being a little crazy with it, but I want the plus money. I want a bigger number. And I was going to bet both of them anyway. Might as well throw them in a parlay. Like I said, that angle is 3-0. Anytime Patty and Molly have been on a card together, 3 times it's happened, 3 times they've both won. I'm expecting to go 4 for 4 here on that one. So Scousers parlay, baby. Do not let me down. Let's cash those tickets, baby. This is going to be a hell of a good fight. And frankly, guys, I do not blame anybody for taking the Bobby Green spot on this one. I just think Bobby is he's untrustworthy, and at this age he could look old overnight at literally any point in time. We'll see what ends up going on here in this one. It could be close, it could be greasy, it could be over quick, it could go a lot of different ways, but I know some smart people that are on Patty the Batty. And from the Superbook, we talked with my guy Andrew just a minute ago. They have set it up to try and need basically Bobby Green, and they've got it set up pretty well that way, even with Patty having opened as a big underdog. So yeah, I'm liking it. I like Patty. Let's freaking go. All right, co-main event, everybody. Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blades, 251 for Tom, 256 for Curtis Blades. Both guys look fantastic on the scales. Tom definitely looks like he's in incredible shape. Lots of muscle on that man's upper body. Both guys have been around a long time, so not too surprised really by anything. We've seen this fight before. Tom is slightly taller than Curtis Blades. Very cold stare down at this face-off. Both guys really intense. I talked about betting Curtis Blades on Monday, guys. I really did. And I don't think I can get there. I wanted to sprinkle Curtis Blades at plus 300 because there's a lot of questions to me about why this fight is lined the way that it is. Tom hasn't really done much since the first fight, which had a fluke injury where they were pick'em price tag to really deserve, I think, being a minus 400 favorite. But at the end of the day, do I pick Tom to win? Yeah, I do. And that's something that I need to stack a couple of wins, guys. I'm on a rough run. I'm having a tough 2024 when it comes to my gambling. So I need to stack some wins. I don't want to be saddled with another value loser on a guy like Curtis Blades. So I'm probably not betting Tom Aspinall just because, I can't go from thinking I want to bet Curtis Blades at plus 300 to finding a way to bet Tom Aspinall unless I take him by knockout or something. I do think Tom probably wins by knockout more than likely, but whenever you've got a guy like Curtis Blades grappling, the submission is always on the table with a guy like Tom. The one thing I do think is you could maybe buck the trend and go over 1.5 in this one. I know Tom has really only been a get it done early kind of guy, but we've seen Curtis Blades go late. And that's where, hey, if you wanted to degen out, if you really wanted to degen out, taking the late Curtis Blades KO numbers, 30-1, 40-1, 60-1 for round 3, 4, and 5. If he gets his grappling going, and if Tom does have any kind of a gas tank concern, then Curtis Blades is going to knock this guy out, and he's going to do it later in the fight. So like that's something you could sprinkle if you were looking for something a little crazy on the co-main event. But yeah, I'm picking Tom, so I'm just going to kind of sit tight and let it be on this one instead of taking the dog shot, and hopefully we get the real belt wrapped around Tom's waist sooner than later, because damn it, that needs to happen. Main event time, Leon Edwards, Belal Muhammad, 170 for Edwards, 169 for Belal Muhammad. Leon Edwards, calm, amazing shape. I can't take anything away from the guy. He's in incredible shape. Belal Muhammad, on the other hand, is jacked. Like, my God, we've never seen Belal in this kind of shape before. He's always in great shape, but he looks like he's in incredible shape coming into this fight. He knows this is his one and only opportunity. He knows this is the only shot he's ever getting. His entire life has amounted to this moment. Leon's got a height advantage. We also knew that coming in. Dana had to get between these guys, wouldn't let them touch each other. I got to tell you guys, you guys know, right? I'm on Belal. I'm team Belal. I've been team Belal since the beginning. I bet Belal in the first fight. I knew I was going to bet Belal when they made this fight rematch coming down the pipe. We always knew it was going to be on Belal this week. So I got Belal Muhammad at plus 210. He's at plus 210. He's the bet this week. Okay. But more so than like the stylistic stuff, I've already talked about it, right? Like, we talked about how Leon struggled with the takedowns. We talked about how he's got to cheat, grabbing the gloves, grabbing the fence, doing whatever it takes to get his ass back up off the floor to make that work. We've talked about how big of a fluke it was that he knocked out Kamaru Usman, because the amount of things that had to go right for him in that fight before he was able to get the opportunity and then land the head kick heard around the world. Like, that's something that just doesn't happen. So we've got a guy in Belal who can follow the exact same game plan as Kamaru Usman. And that's been something that's worked on Leon Edwards essentially his entire career. You've got Leon Edwards, who is known to lose focus, to get down on himself, to break in fights, to gas out. Do we not forget the Nate Diaz round 5, where he almost got knocked out by a 155er who is, speaking of doing influencer boxing these days, he almost got put away by that guy? Like, there are chinks in the armor for Leon Edwards. And it wasn't that long ago that everybody thought he was as dull and boring as Belal. And then one head kick changed everything. Now everyone is on him. Now he's a massive favorite. He never used to be that way. So I just think things are flipping a little bit too hard for Leon Edwards being a massive favorite here in this spot. This fight is way closer to a pick'em than people are willing to suggest. And also, yes, he won round 1 of their first fight, but he was always going to win round 1 of their first fight. It's pretty regular that Leon Edwards wins round 1 of his fights and then fades down the stretch. So not shocking to me at all that he won that first round, and Belal was still there. Belal was still around. Belal was still working his way back in. But now let's talk about the new stuff, right? Let's talk about the other stuff. Let's talk about how Leon Edwards is straight up looking past Belal Muhammad, right? He, in every single interview, everything that Belal has said, he's completely disregarded. He's completely laughed him off. He keeps saying he's too small. He's not strong enough. I'm going to knock him out. Don't worry about it. And he's like laughing at Belal in this spot. And now a lot of people are going to take that as confidence, right? A lot of people are going to take that as, well, the champ, and he knows. And I'm taking that as he's got a real threat in front of him, and he just doesn't see how big of a threat that is. At the end of the day, he didn't want to rematch this guy because he knew the danger that this guy poses. And now he's convinced himself that he's bulletproof. As soon as you see yourself on top of the mountain and you can't think of yourself falling down, that's when you fall. I think that Leon Edwards is way cocky out of his depth here in this spot. And then when they did not the ceremonial face-offs, but like the presser face-offs, and he tried to pull that bully move on Belal and tried to like yank at him and make him flinch. Guys, Belal is winning the mental portion of this game. Like, Leon just keeps on laughing at him, and I think it's delusional that he's not taking this man seriously. Belal has ice in his veins, and not a damn thing that Leon Edwards has done has gotten to him, and he's still standing right in front of the guy, staring into his soul. I think Belal is going to drag Leon's ass around that cage for 20 straight minutes. Leon's going to win round 1 again, guys. It's going to look just like the last fight. Leon is going to win round 1 because he's going to be fresh as a daisy. And because he's coming out there saying, I'm going to finish this guy, he's going to try. He's not going to be able to. And then Bilal is going to grind his ass. And it's going to be a dominating 15 minutes of the champion on his back going, what the fuck? And not being able to get up. And Bilal is going to win this fight. I would say Bilal via decision. But frankly, at the end of the day, when we've seen a guy like Leon Edwards get cracked by a 155er on the feet in the 5th round because he's tired and almost go out, I wouldn't be shocked if Bilal actually manages to TKO this guy. If he's not able to get off the ground, if he's exhausted, if he's broken, and then Bilal starts pounding him, starts pouring it on in the 4th and the 5th rounds, I can see Leon Edwards breaking. I've already called it, guys. It's my dog of the week. I'm going with Bilal. I'm going big on Bilal. I am very confident in Bilal. I love this spot, and I may sprinkle those late round props. I am picking him to win. I think it's going to be by decision, but like I said, those late round props are just about as juicy as it gets. Bilal via KO round 4 is 55-1. Bilal via KO round 5 is 70-1. I'm not going to play round 3 because frankly, I just don't see it happening that early. But round 4, round 5, 55 and 70-1. Yeah, those are getting a sprinkle. Those are absolutely getting a sprinkle. Can't freaking wait, guys. Can't freaking wait. I can't stand Leon Edwards as champion, and he's talking about punching down and trying to take on the 155 champ instead of moving up to get the 185 champ. He fights one time a year. He talks a whole bunch of shit to a whole bunch of people and then does nothing. Like, he bugs me to my core, and I want to see Bilal get gold wrapped around his waist. He's earned it. He deserves it. Leon Edwards has fought a bunch of 155ers and then sat on the sidelines to get himself a title shot, where Bilal has put the backpack on, who's done the work, who's cleaned out the division, who literally made himself undeniable. The UFC did not want to give this guy a title shot, and there's literally nobody else with a better resume than him. He earned it from day one. It's been all hard work. How do you not love that guy? On top of that, with everything going on overseas, like, I don't want to get into any political stuff, but Bilal's got a country on his back. Like, there's a lot of things that go into this one. I think Bilal is going to have his best night of his life on Saturday, and he's going to win that UFC title. He's going to have gold wrapped around his waist and new Bilal Muhammad. There you go, guys. That's the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show. Good luck on all your degenerate action. Jump in the comments after I end the live stream. Let me know who your favorite pick is for this week. And hey, unless you're betting Leon Edwards, good luck this weekend. Let's roll.